Hello HR, my name is Sherman. I'm Chief HR Officer of Fusion Superplex and doctoral student at the University of Southern California. Today we're going to be talking about organizational development, and my topic is strategic organizational development begins at the end. We'll be using Kirkpatrick and Kirkpatrick's New World Kirkpatrick model to talk about organizational development. To give you a little bit about my background before we begin, as I would have said already, I am the Chief HR Officer at Fusion Superplex, which is a family entertainment facility located in Nassau, Bahamas. I'm also a doctoral student studying organizational change and leadership at the University of Southern California. I have a master's degree in industrial organizational psychology, and my history, in addition to HR, I've worked in hotel operations and resort recreation management. Today we're going to have a very rich and fun-packed agenda. I'm going to start by giving you an overview of Kirkpatrick and Kirkpatrick's 4 levels of training evaluation. We'll go into an organizational application where we use my organization, Fusion Superplex, to do some stakeholder interviews and a demonstration of the New World Kirkpatrick modeled utility. Kirkpatrick's 4 levels of training evaluation. I had the opportunity to study and apply this theory and model during my doctoral studies at the University of Southern California. This book, I think, is a very great read and something that you should always keep in your back pocket as someone who's responsible for learning and development in your organizations. So in Kirkpatrick's book, he discusses 4 levels of training evaluation. I thought this was key to bring to you as a part of organizational development because in development programs, we often use training and learning as key mechanisms to make meaningful change. But as HR practitioners, I find that we sometimes stop at the reactionary level of training, maybe the learning, and so I wanted to show you how these 4 levels, cascaded and scaffolded down, will assist you to really have transformational change in your organizations. Level 1, this is where we live. These are your reactions. The reactions to training. You have your engagement, you have your relevance, your customer satisfaction. How much did your participants enjoy the session? As trainers, we often spend too much time evaluating this, even though it does not necessarily relate or transcend to business values. You have level 2, learning. Did they learn the knowledge and skills? Do they have the attitude and the confidence necessary to commit to these behaviors and bring them back into the organization? Level 3 is where the behaviors are translated into the workplace. And level 4 results is where it really brings it home, the leading indicators and the actual desired outcomes of the program. I'm going to go through the levels for you and explain to you why it's imperative that you apply this model in your daily organizational settings. In this model, there's a main concept that I need you to focus on because this concept leads and dictates the evaluation of all training programs. It's called Return on Expectations, ROE. In organizations, we typically use ROI to make our business case. How much is it going to cost and what's going to be the expected return on the investment? We're talking about money. But with ROE, we're also talking about the financials, but even more so, the core purpose of the organization. When you use ROE to evaluate training and organizational learning development programs, you are looking at the organization at its core, and you're engaging with the stakeholders to find out what are their expectations of the learning and development program. You see, one can say it's important to understand how well the participants responded to the training. Did they enjoy it? Did they learn what they needed to learn? But how does that translate to what the stakeholders expected of the program? When you have a leader come to you and say, HR, I need you to throw this together because we have customer service issues. What they're really focusing on is their expectation is to see that at the end of that program, the customer service issues are going to be resolved. That is their expectation, which is linked to the core purpose of the organization. So instead of always focusing on the cost, the dollars and cents, I need us to, in addition to that, think about return on expectations. How are our training and development programs going to deliver on the expectations of the stakeholders? To do that, it involves getting persons from the organization integrated into the program. Your managers, your leaders, your employees, customers who are going to do evaluations, and taking a bird's eye view of the problem and bringing it all together. Return on expectations is the foundation upon which all learning and development programs should be developed, executed, and evaluated. Kirkpatrick's model has 4 levels, and the levels are cascaded down in level of importance, with level 4 being more important than level 1. So as HR practitioners, it's important that we stop focusing on level 1. So what are the levels? As I would have said already, level 4 is the results, and they are critical to evaluating if the program has led to the expected outcomes, and it's directly aligned with the core purpose of the organization. A critical part of level 4 is also going to be the accountability package and support that help to hinder or increase the likelihood that the participants of a program display the necessary behaviors. Accountability is key in this program, and you have to observe and measure what you're expecting to ensure that it's having the desired impact. The outcomes at level 4 are directly tied to key organizational goals. As I would have said already, they're aligned to the organization's core purpose. Level 3, behavior. It assesses the degree to which the information learned in the training or development program is transferred into the work environment. And in level 3, you're assessing critical behaviors. How are you executing the knowledge learned in the training? Do they have the necessary competencies and skills to do a good job? Is it being applied appropriately in the work environment? Now, level 2 learning is where we often focus, in addition to reaction, but we spend some time in this space. Has the learning been achieved in the training? Did they learn the right knowledge? Did they learn a new skill? The competencies that were set? And assessing this can be done with pre-test, post-test, and it's just pretty much evaluating how the participant understood the content and is able to demonstrate. Are they equipped to demonstrate? Level 2 learning also talks about the level of attachment to the information and their commitment to demonstrating this information. Are they confident? Level 1 reaction, the smiley face. Did they like it? Did they not like it? The surface level stuff. While it's still important because feelings are important with training, it doesn't really get to the core, and it doesn't ensure that there is transformational change. This is level 1, surface level reactionary stuff. There's a fundamental gap that Kirkpatrick focuses on and wants us to be cognizant of when we're doing our training. You see, we all know that training should lead to the attainment of an organization's goal. We know that. As HR practitioners, we've always been taught that everything must make business sense. There must be a business case. So level 4 results we get. And there's normally a key tie between level 4 results and level 3 behaviors. Behaviors translate to results. And there's a good tie there. But looking at this image, we see that there's a strong relationship between level 3 behaviors and level 4 results. There's often also a very strong relationship between a reaction, the level 1 reaction, and the level 2 learning. If they're having a good time in training, it might help them to learn. And so you see normally a strong connection between level 1 reaction and level 2 learning. The challenge that practitioners often face is seeing the learning transcend into the organization. How do we move level 2 learning to level 3 behaviors so that we can achieve the results that the organizational stakeholders are expecting from us as HR practitioners? Fundamentally, this Kirkpatrick model assists practitioners with taking training and development programs to achieving real results in an organization. So, in order to get more from this experience today, I have brought in my boss, Mr. Carlos Spokes, the Chief Executive Officer and founder of Fusion Superplex, and Takoya Bridgewater, founder and Chief Legal Officer of Fusion Superplex, to do some interviews so that we can see how their minds are working and give us a little bit more insight as HR practitioners as to how to engage in these necessary conversations so that we can achieve real transformational results through our development programs. I hope that you enjoy this interview segment. Today we're going to go through a series of questions to provide some real-world application of this model. And so to start, I have the biggest question of them all. What is Fusion Superplex?
Well, what I love to indicate to our customers as well as the public at large is Fusion Superplex is way more than the movies. Okay, we provide an experience when you come through the doors. We have cinemas, we also have restaurants and eateries, we have a massage area where you can relax and enjoy yourselves, and we also have an event space. So if you want to come book something for a party, for a festival, or anything of that nature, we provide that sort of experience here as well as we are what you would call a marketing phenom right now. If you want to buy ads on the cinemas, or if you want to put something on the Jumbotron, we also provide that. So Fusion is way more than the movies, and we're an entire entertainment experience.
Absolutely. I think Mr. Bridgewater is right on point there. Our objective is to be a wholesome family entertainment experience for the community. What we have seen in the past during our evaluation of the market space, a missing link between wholesome family entertainment and our educational system. I think another thing we intended to do is, how do I bring entertainment to the people and educate them at the same time, which was the core reason for choosing the IMAX product, all right? We call it edutainment, all right? But we also want to do it in a safe environment where family members can just come and hang out. Parents can drop off the kids and don't have to worry about them getting into trouble. Fusion represents all those things, and we use technology and innovation and a number of other key deliveries to accomplish that.
Now for our next question. What is the core purpose of Fusion Superplex?
Well, I think there are two answers to that.
Okay.
There are two answers to that. Yeah, we had a vision,
Yes.
indeed, and our goal was to bring a better class of entertainment to the Bahamas. But at the same time, it is a business, and the purpose of any business is to create a return on investment for the shareholders, all right? And so those are the two things, to do it better.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, and to make some money while doing it.
As Carlos indicated in regards of our the vision that we have, because right now, as indicated earlier, our vision is centered around entertainment. We seek to establish ourselves as the most advanced and sought after entertainment experience in the region, while strengthening communities by providing that family-friendly environment, okay? And that is our main purpose, but of course, you know, it is a business, and so it's all about return on investment as well.
So just now, you spoke to some key components of your company's vision statement when you talked about the advanced entertainment experience and strengthening communities by providing family-friendly environment. Tell me, how does that vision statement guide the strategic components of organizational development in your organization?
You know, when we first sat down to put together our vision of what this business would look like, we had to decide what was our ultimate objective, all right? And this is how most business owners go about it. We look way down into the future, years in the future, in fact, to see how we're going to get this accomplished, all right? That becomes the essence of our vision. And yes, we come back and edited some nice words so we can print it on a piece of paper. But the ultimate objective is very simple, to be the best, all right? And we decided that this is how we're going to go do it and who we're going to bring together. So it's absolutely essential to set an objective initially, otherwise you'll be all over the place.
So, I'm putting the light on myself as the HR partner in Fusion Superplex. As key stakeholders, what are your expectations of human resources and my department in delivering on organizational development strategies?
Often, business persons get involved in the daily management of a business, especially startups. We see this vision, we want it executed a particular way. Sometimes we want to even do a little bit more, too much. We get too controlling over the because we're tied emotionally to that product. All right, but you definitely need persons like yourselves and persons in the human resource field in general, and even in human resources, different expertise. I know some persons are good at training, others are good at recruitment and selection and so forth, but we find that we have to put together this group of managers who can take the vision, break it down to manageable objectives, and then develop programs. So we expect persons like yourself to literally do the work.
I would concur, because when I really look at it right now, the most important tool that a business has, it's human resources. Okay, without the employees, without the staff members, we wouldn't be able to touch the gas. I always say that the employee is the soldier on the front line. We're the generals. So what you do is you go there, you recruit, you train, okay, and then you continually improve on that human resource, which is the employees. So
Easier said than done.
yes, it is, nonetheless, but you have to do it, and it's a consistent thing. It's continually changing, it's continually evolving, and you bring that, or HR, the HR department, brings that necessary element to the company. Okay, so that's a very vital aspect, especially the Fusion Superplex.
I feel like I've done a good job, working with my leadership team, and you both have such a strong foundation of leadership, but this experience in us building Fusion from the ground up has definitely helped us to hone those skills as we continuously get better and grow. So
Yeah.
development and continuous growth is important. And finally, bringing it all back into Kirkpatrick, because that's why we're here today, to talk about these 4 levels. So, at the board table, in the boardroom, we always talk about return on investment, making a business case. Let's talk the money. That's always something that we think about. Now that I've introduced you to the concept of return on expectations, what is your comfort level in using return on expectations when HR brings you a program to evaluate? Are you interested in engaging in that process after understanding the value of it from this methodology?
Actually, I find this quite interesting. You pointed out the use of our financial terms and how we sit around the boardroom tables and board meetings, shareholder meetings, and we ultimately discuss these objectives of the company mostly from a financial framework. And I think that's okay for that level. But if you want to get your employees to buy into the business vision and the mission, like Mr. Bridgewater said, you got to get a little bit more granular. All right, and I think the engagement that this program is discussing, return on expectation, all right, it's a little bit easier to communicate to the wider employment and other stakeholders who may not be employees or shareholders, members of the community, persons interested in the success of Fusion, and we hope that's a significant portion of the Bahamian people. And so talking about the return in form of the expectation, I'm extremely comfortable. I'm actually excited to see how you and your team can deploy it in our organization. When you introduced it to us, I'm immediately thinking, wait, why aren't we doing this yet?
I think it works hand in hand in my estimation, because if you want the return on investment at the end of the day, you have to have a return on the expectation or that goal that leads to the return on the investment. It's something you have to ask yourself, what results do you want at the end of the day? At the end of the day, as business owners, we want the result of the increase in revenue. Right? So if you're looking at it from a management standpoint right now, what results do we want at the end of the day in any specific department?
And so I'm going to be working with you very closely, as well as other constituents in the organization, to develop more programs to help to focus on our core purpose so that we can achieve our goals. I really appreciate your time and consideration of this model, and I really look forward to working with you to bring it into reality. And I thank you so much for your time today. I hope that you enjoyed that segment. It's imperative to have organizational leaders who get it, and I'm very fortunate that I do. Because leaders who understand that it's not a surface level thing, they get that training and development is for a purpose and not just to tick a box. Those leaders are the ones that help the organizations grow and develop. Now, it's sometimes you have to manage up, and sometimes you have to lead by example, and then they can take cues from you. But I hope that you've learned a few strategies through that last segment. Now we're going to do a real life example of this Kirkpatrick model in the context of Fusion Superplex. In order to do this, we're going to do some hypothetical situations, but I hope that it helps to make this a little bit more concrete for you so that you can see how you can apply it in your environment. So now that we have an appreciation of Fusion Superplex and what it is, its core purpose, I can just throw out a goal for you and we'll go from there. And so in this example, the organizational goal that we'll be focusing on is a SMART goal. And it's always important to use SMART goals because they're specific, they're measurable, they're attainable, they're realistic, and they're time sensitive. So with this example, we're going to say, by December 2024, Fusion Superplex will increase organizational productivity ratings by 10%. I have selected the Human Resources Leadership Team as a stakeholder of interest to help us to achieve this goal. And so the secondary goal that is going to be used to cascade the organizational goal into the organization is going to be the HR SMART goal. By December 2022, HR leadership will engage in talent acquisition and training to increase managerial employees' proficiency in performance management and talent development competencies by 50%. And so you've seen, as I said, we started at the top. The core purpose of the organization should be productive. And we want to see a productivity level increase by 10% by December 2024. The HR department is going to be responsible for delivering on that, because in this particular example, I have selected them as key stakeholders. Just to flesh out this model more, I will show you each level and the necessary components that you must consider. So, with level 4 results, you have to focus on leading indicators, and they could be internal or external. So understanding what Fusion Superplex is, we've decided that the external outcomes are going to be improved employment brand reputation, increased volume of partnerships with local youth and educational institutions for work-study, internship, and apprenticeship programs, and improved customer satisfaction ratings. Those are the external outcomes that the HR stakeholder goal will assist in achieving. The internal outcomes that we'll be focusing on are still at the organizational level. They include improved employee engagement scores, reduced regrettable turnover, improved job performance, and increased internal promotions and succession planning success. Both of these outcomes, internal and external, are central to the organization's core purpose. It is through these outcomes that we will achieve the results necessary and expected by our stakeholders. Always focusing at the top with level 4 results, level 3 behaviors come right behind. These are the critical behaviors that must be visible, things that you can actually see and measure that will assist us in knowing if we are going to be achieving the level 4 results. So critical behaviors in this context for this example would be things like implementing and executing a leadership and development program to improve coaching and talent management and skills for the managers using the New World Kirkpatrick model. Using recruitment and selection processes to source high potential management candidates for current and anticipated management vacancies. Meeting with managers weekly to review progress on an individual development program. designed to close skill gaps associated with performance management. You would be able to watch these activities take place, so there's evidence of the critical behaviors necessary. And that's the focus of this step, of this level, visibly seeing the behaviors that you need to execute and attain the goals that you have set. Level 3 behaviors also includes the required drivers, the support, and the accountability package. If I were to say that we're going to be supporting our participants, I would focus on reminders and checklists of program schedules and activities. Are they completing what they need to complete? External coaching with learning and development specialists and executive modeling that helps to support the behaviors that I need them to learn. That's a driver, that's a support. Tailored recognition via the employee's preferred method. That helps to give the employee additional incentive to participate and to execute and to do the behaviors that are necessary. Meetings with HR and the CEO to discuss goal attainment. Visibility in itself provides a push and incentive. It also helps to drive the message. And also you can use things like interviews, surveys, and focus groups to get an understanding of what the participant feels that they need to be able to carry out the behaviors that are necessary for us to establish transformational results. Level 2 learning goals and program overview. The example that I've used requires growth from a lot of functional areas in HR. And so I would have set out several functional areas, and I would have had specific learning opportunities for the managers to improve in their competencies and develop. And so some of those areas would be performance management, labor relations, and talent acquisition. So as a part of getting the managers to where they need to be so that we could have better organizational productivity, they need to grow and become better at labor relations and how they coach and discipline their employees, how they manage performance. They need to become better at the functional areas of their job. And so we will provide multiple learning opportunities, and we will measure, are they participating, are they learning? We'll do pre-tests and post-tests and evaluate their success at this level. Also a part of level 2 learning, we're also wanting to assess the effective commitment and the attitudes, as well as the desires for the managers to want to engage in these behaviors. And so there are some measures that we've instituted in this as well. Level 1, this is the stuff we do every day. The smile sheets. How much do they enjoy? And a lot of times participants get fatigued from having to answer surveys about training programs. So they tend to not give the full picture, and it's not really good data. And so in this program, we're still going to look at, did they enjoy it? Were there any impediments to their learning? Was the room too cold? Was the trainer mean? We'll still get that data through surveys or interviews. But remember, it's at the bottom in terms of its level of importance. We want to continuously focus on the more valuable learning, behaviors, and results. So HR, I know that it feels like I've said the same thing over and repeatedly, but repetition helps it to stick. Okay, so the core purpose of today's session was for us to learn how to take level 4 results and scaffold them down to level 1 reaction so that we can achieve profound transformational change in our organizational development initiatives. I find that this model, in theory, has great utility and value in our organizations. And I've also seen that my own leaders have begun to have a shift in their thought process in how they interpret this data and this methodology, and I've been asked to institute it in my organization. And so I hope during next year's session, we'll be able to talk more about how I've seen and measured these results. What I hope that you've taken away today is the understanding of the ROE, focusing on the core purpose of your organization and what your stakeholders expect when you're designing, implementing, and executing any learning and development program. Financials are critical, they're important, but it's all for naught If your activities, your training, and your programs are not contributing to the core purpose, to the organization's level 4 results, the internal and external outcomes. So I ask you to please consider this. Understanding that the end goal should be the starting point for your program development, guided by the New World Kirkpatrick model. How do you feel that you can make incremental change in your organizational practice? I hope that this has been a benefit to you. And I really hope that we can have more conversations about instituting change and developing our organizations. Thank you.